Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for having me. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Logan Telles. I'm one of the transportation planners for the city of Eugene. And I'm here to talk to you today about the Division Avenue Roundabouts project that the city has started working on designing. Now, most of you all are probably familiar with Division Avenue as you live in the area. But for anyone who isn't, Division Avenue is a commercial corridor that extends, extends from River Road and connects down into Beltline. And the portion that our project is focusing on is really this section that is adjacent to the large shopping centers. Could you flip to the next slide? To give you another way of kind of thinking about where we're at, the cross section out there right now, the existing conditions are pretty similar to what you see here. We have two general travel through lanes moving towards River Road with bike lane, a center turn lane for people to make left turns into the shopping centers, a through lane going towards Beltline along with bike lane, and then also a right turn lane that moves into the Fred Meyer driveways. So now that we've kind of oriented ourselves to where we are and what it looks like a bit out there right now, I want to talk a bit about why the city of Eugene is considering pursuing a transportation safety project in the area. And really, the crux of it is the crash history out there. We've had quite severe crash history for such a short segment of roadway. As far back as the city's digital records go, we've had at least 9 fatal and serious injury crashes out there, which is a lot for a community of our size and for a community with our travel volumes. So the severe crash history out there really alerted staff to, well, this is a problem area. We need to pursue interventions to create safer outcomes. And there's quite a few challenges feeding into the crash history and the safety challenges that we're seeing out there right now. One of the primary ones is people are having a difficult time identifying safe gaps in traffic as they're turning in and out of the shopping centers, both to the north and to the south, as well as turning on and off of Lone Oak, which is a side street that extends past the Taco Bell, if you're familiar with the area, and it leads up into a residential area with a number of assisted living facilities. So that difficulty identifying safe gaps in traffic is certainly a factor feeding into the crash history. Another really prominent thing I want to highlight for folks is high vehicle speeds are a concern. Vehicle speeds are one of the primary determining factors in how severe crashes are when they do occur. So, the faster the vehicles are moving, the more force that is associated with the crash, and the higher the chances of death or injury when crashes happen. So addressing vehicle speeds is also something we're really interested in. And then there's a couple of concerns that are specific to people walking and biking along Division Avenue. For example, for someone biking right now, there are existing bike lanes, but they're quite narrow and they're in very close proximity to high speed, high volume traffic. So we'd like to address that and provide better separation for people who are biking on Division Avenue as well. And lastly, I'll mention difficulty crossing Division Avenue on foot and on bike is something that we've heard from folks. We do have one pedestrian beacon out there right now, the type where you push the button and the yellow lights flash. But we know that sometimes people have challenges even with those flashing yellow lights. Sometimes folks don't stop, and sometimes folks want to cross in other locations on Division. So providing better crossing conditions is also something we'd love to be able to do. Flipping on to the next slide.
Maybe. Here we go.
Give me a hard time.
No, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm watching the chat too, because a lot of people have a tendency just to.
So to kind of circle around to why we're considering the project we're considering, roundabouts are potentially a solution to a number of the issues that we just talked about. One of the primary benefits of roundabouts is that from a geometric standpoint, they involve far fewer conflict points and turning conflict points in comparison to traditional intersections. So for single lane roundabouts, there are just 8 possible conflict points associated with that configuration of intersection versus the 32 plus conflict points that would be possible at a traditional four-leg intersection that's controlled by something like stop signs or a traffic signal. So that's a great benefit associated with roundabouts. Additionally, roundabouts are great for reducing vehicle speeds and particularly combating people who are speeding severely, because, you know, as people enter into the roundabout, they have to circulate around it, and that like rotational pattern is what we would call horizontal deflection. So people slow down as they're making that turn. And so that's another potential benefit associated with roundabouts. And lastly, I'll point out, this isn't specific to any of the challenges we talked about on the previous screen, but I also just don't want to lose sight of the fact that in many locations, roundabouts can actually improve traffic flow because they are reducing or eliminating the need for vehicles to line up and wait at a red light or a stop sign before proceeding into the intersection. So that's also a benefit that we're really interested in associating with roundabouts. Moving on.
I'll get it down.
So the expense of the project that we're considering really starts at the River Road intersection and carries through to that curve where Division Avenue moves towards Beltline. The 2 points you can see there are the proposed roundabout locations, but roundabouts aren't the only component that we're considering. We're also looking at what bike facilities can we install that would better separate bikes from cars, and as I mentioned, better crossing conditions as well. And so I want to talk a bit about some of the work that's been done to date, kind of analyzing the project concept. So we hired a consulting firm called Kittleson and Associates, which is a well-known transportation planning and engineering firm, to do both analysis and some high-level conceptual design work for us. The analysis that they put in for us is kind of broken into two parts. On one hand, they did a safety analysis for us, and on the other hand, they did an operational analysis, which you can kind of think of like a traffic flow analysis. And so I want to talk about the safety analysis first. The consultants used methodology designed by the Federal Highway Administration that's called the Safety Performance for Intersection Control Evaluation Tool, which is quite a mouthful. The abbreviation is SPICE. So they use this SPICE methodology to compare projected future crashes in a build scenario where we build roundabouts versus a no build scenario where we don't build roundabouts. And so I want to talk a bit about those safety analysis results. So kind of looking over the 20-year timeline, the consultant safety analysis projects that the addition of roundabouts at the two proposed locations would reduce 39% of crashes overall across all crash types, and most prominently reduce crashes that involve fatalities and injuries. So they're projecting a 78% reduction in fatal and injury crashes associated with building roundabouts. So that's certainly an interesting potential benefit of the project. Getting back to the screen here, I want to talk a bit about the operational analysis as well, because I know that's certainly of interest to folks. So the consulting firm did some travel modeling for us using future volume projections. So the Lane Council of Governments has 2045 estimated travel volumes for all of our major roadways in town. The consultant took this travel volume data, these travel volume projections for the future, and compared how traffic flow in the area would differ in the build scenario where we add roundabouts versus the no build scenario where we don't build roundabouts. So I know there's a lot here, and we'll pause and we'll also talk through some of this. But the operational analysis results, looking out once again, that 20-year timeline shows that the roundabout scenario dramatically improves traffic flow and traffic operations in comparison to the no build scenario. So for anyone who's having a difficult time interpreting some of this level of service, which you see in the column here, you can kind of think of as a report card for how well traffic is flowing through an intersection, with A being the highest score, the best score that a location can get, and F being the worst score that a location can get. So as you can see here, when we're looking into the future, these intersections, without building any interventions, are receiving Fs. So they're failing in the level of service category, whereas the addition of roundabouts, we're seeing Bs and As. from a traffic flow perspective through them. So that's an interesting finding associated with the operational analysis. I'll also point out the consultants calculated delay and kind of compared delay between the no-build scenario and the 2 roundabouts scenario, and found that the roundabouts reduced delay over the no-build scenario. So as you can see, 89%, 80%, 85% reductions in delays at the 3 intersections within the core of the project area. Now you might be saying, well, I thought we were only talking about 2 roundabouts, and you're correct. This center roundabout here is one where we're considering doing more access management. So maybe having like a small median to close it to have it be more of a right turn in, right turn out scenario. So that middle intersection is also displayed here for that reason. Just to help clarify.
Question about, if I could ask.
Oh, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, please.
Sure.
When you go the delay, if you could show that table again.
Mhm.
Delay related to the growth projections. Delay compared to what?
Delay in terms of seconds, average amount of seconds you'd be sitting at the intersection before proceeding to make the movement you're making.
Okay. Most people just drive through and aren't actually. So this is a person who
But
wants
you-
to make a turn.
Well, yeah. You also have to consider it's both people doing the through movement, but also people sitting waiting to make the turn at the location.
Okay, thank you.
I think I already showed that slide. I might just add it. Okay. Oh yeah, that was just a reminder slide for the project extends. So I'm going to talk about 2 conceptual design options that the consultant has drawn up. They're very high level, but they differ in a couple ways. And I'm just going to display this. I know it's a lot of text before we jump into the actual PDFs with the designs, just to help prepare you for what you're about to see. So option 1 and option 2 are similar in a lot of ways. They have roundabouts at the same 2 locations. They have marked crosswalks at the same locations. Right now, those marked crosswalks from in the cost estimating documents we have are assumed to be raised crosswalks to help with yield compliance a bit more for pedestrians. The key areas in which these 2 options differ is option 1 is going to show you a scenario where bikes would be riding on a wide shared use path. So kind of think of like an extra wide sidewalk that's designed to support both bikes and pedestrians. So option 1 is featuring a shared use path. Option 2 is showing buffered bike lanes. Instead of bikes riding on the shared use path, they would be riding in an on-street bike lane that has additional painted buffer space separating them from cars. So that's one key bike-related difference between option 1 and option 2. And then another difference between the 2 options that you're going to see is, once again, like I was talking about, that center intersection between the 2 proposed roundabouts that is not proposed for a roundabout. There's going to need to be some type of access management associated with that. Option 1 is showing that exclusively being a right in, right out scenario, whereas option 2, you're going to see a left turn pocket in to that driveway connecting north. So those are some of the key differences between the 2 scenarios. I think
I don't understand that last area that you discussed.
Sure.
What's right in, right out?
So right now, people, imagine you're coming out of one of the shopping center parking lots. You can make a turn right, or you can make a turn left. Versus if we're doing access management where there's a median in the middle, you can't make that right or left. You have to, like, right in, right out would be, you would have to turn right out.
And go around the roundabout.
And go around the roundabout to circulate
Like
back.
on the road just south of Silver Lane, where they put that median in, and so you can't come out of the grocery outlet and turn left to go north, because that thing's in the middle, right? You have to go right, or you have to go further down and come out of farther down exit to go left to get past that median.
Mhm. I see another hand up in the back.
I have a question, how you're funding all of this if we can't afford the city that would like to discount.
So we,
Can we
Yes.
reframe the question so people at home can
oh
hear?
yes, sorry. So the question is, how is the project being funded? That was the first question. And so to get to that, the city of Eugene applied for a state grant program called Road Transportation Safety Grant, ARTS grant for short. And we were successful in securing approximately $6 million for safety improvements on division. No, that's a different funding source.
Because they can't complete that, so I have questions.
Yeah, and Reed is going to talk a bit about the protected intersection project in a bit. Right now, I'd like to focus on Division Avenue, if that's okay. Yes.
There's three outlets to Red Line onto Division. Is the people
So
what happens to the other?
can we pull up the PDFs? I'm gonna have him pull up the design drawings so we can look at this all together and maybe that will help clarify. Just one moment. This is option one. This is option one. So this is and we might need to zoom in a little bit and pan around so folks can see a little better. And I can kind of do that if you'd like me to. But
Yeah. All right, I can do it too if you want.
okay.
It's over. Yeah. Here.
Oh, I see.
So that's Fred Meyer at the
Yes.
bottom left.
So this is Fred Meyer. And this is the shopping center on the north side. Albertsons is off screen, but it's up in this area. And so the design we're talking about focuses on the intersection with Lone Oak, which you can see here. So if you're trying to orient yourself, this is Taco Bell right here. This is Fred Meyer. This is the Fred Meyer gas station. And over on the left side, once again, this is Fred Meyer. This building here is the Defy trampoline park. And so where did the zoom in button go? See if we can get a better look. And so under option one, we have, as I mentioned, the roundabout. We have these shared use paths that are wider than standard sidewalks at a width that is designed to be comfortable to support bikes and pedestrians. As I mentioned, all of the crossings across Division Avenue are currently cost estimated to be raised. So the city would probably raise them up about 3 inches to help slow vehicles as they're entering into the roundabout. This middle intersection here, which I think, oh, I hate that it does that, sorry. This middle intersection here, this is a landscaped median. So this would be the right in, right out scenario, where if you're coming, you would have to turn right and then circulate around the roundabout to come back this way. And so this is the other one. You might be thinking to yourselves, how are freight trucks going to access these properties? And so these roundabouts are currently designed to be semi-mountable for large vehicles like freight. So not the entire island would be raised to the full height. It would have like a sloping curve, like a truck apron that would allow the trucks to mount the roundabouts to a certain degree to make that change. And we went and we talked to the stores, we got the dimensions for their trailers, and we designed the width of the roundabouts to be such that they can make that turn.
Maybe the question was, how about the intersection coming out of Les Schwab? Yeah. That's not on the map.
So that one is not projected to have any change other than, the shared use path would carry through that area. So there's no new access management associated with that location or anything like that proposed. Yeah. Sorry, I have this blue thing. I don't know why it does that. I clicked on it and now I can't get it to unclick.
Doesn't have any say about this?
Well, we're doing business engagement. This is kind of, so this draft of the conceptual design was being worked on over the summer. We just recently got it in. And this is our first community engagement, larger community engagement effort for the project. We're going to continue to do community engagement. Our largest meeting for the project is currently planned for September 11th, the evening of September 11th. We're going to have a large, what we're calling transportation fair at North Eugene High School in the gymnasium. And we're going to send out more details about this and send out mailers and make sure folks are aware. But a huge component of that open house is going to be doing a lot of engagement for this project. We're going to invite the businesses and talk to them.
I have a question.
Sorry.
So, but with
Mhm.
the Les Schwab exit, wouldn't you be able to turn right and go around the roundabout if you needed to go left?
You could do that if you wanted to, but right now we don't have any median design prohibiting you from making the left out of that far left intersection that you're seeing on the very edge of the screen. I see a hand over there.
What happened is, I don't know, east of Selka, when you come around the park, it's flying around like
So you're talking about, are you talking about like this general area? So yeah, so what's planned for this side of what we have drawn for this side of the project extents is marrying this shared use path into the existing two-way bike lane that continues on to Division, the further portion of Division that goes towards Beltline. We don't have any access management planned for, are you talking about this driveway here?
That county property.
Yeah.
So Division Avenue is a City of Eugene roadway, at least on this stretch.
So we'll do center line hardening to answer your question.
Mhm.
Folks coming around that corner are sort of trying to get
Mhm.
to that walkway space so that they don't have to turn sharp, so you can get around that corner. This had always been planned to have a physical separator between that active transportation space and the travel lane, and it just never got installed. As part of this, we're going to start down here because you won't have the shoulders driving. So that narrows the width. So people have to slow down. We were also going to look at decreasing the overall speed.
Mhm.
Really important comment, but it's small.
Sure.
You say 45, it's actually 30, but there's a tree in front of a 30-mile line. So if you want to have somebody who's cut, let's see.
Over to the side.
At the end of
Yeah,
Ross
I don't want to
Lane.
mess up how you have things set up.
And it's been that way forever, but the speeds are still 45.
But don't you feel, I feel like, I just feel like the whole institution of roundabouts, so many people take that off Beltline as a shortcut to get into town. They're bypassing, going all the way down into the Division, actually going. I feel like what I'm thrilled about this project is I think a lot of people are not going to do that anymore. They don't want to get stuck doing these roundabouts. That's going to have to slow them down. I feel like they're not going to take, I don't feel like they're going to take it anymore, and they're just going to stay on and get off the Division very fast. Because they're not going to want to take those rounds. I mean, is that? Force them into the
I mean, if folks want to take the River Road exit, that is another option for them. Yeah.
You just keep on Beltline. Does it have any projected effect on Hunsaker? I mean, do you look at those, like, when you build this, what does it do to that?
To the best of my knowledge, I don't know off the top of my head if the traffic flow analysis has results for Hunsaker. I can ask the consultant because they wrote up their results in a report specific for Division Avenue, but they might be able to look at that and give me some more information about that.
City Eugene doesn't have enough police officers to slow people down enough. Because I can tell you, I've lived here for 45 years. These people are starting. If you're not doing 45, going from Fred Meyer to Irving, you're getting passed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they don't do nothing about it. And it's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I understand your project here.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you need one roundabout. You don't need two. I really don't think you need two.
Mm-hmm.
You need one down here at Lone Oak. I agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
But up here, you're going into River Road, which is gonna go to Beltline, which is backed up. I mean, I don't know how many people live out here in this area, but I can get on River Road at 9:30 in the morning, it takes me a half hour to get the belt line with 5 traffic stops, or
Mhm.
5 traffic lights.
Mhm.
And that's just stupid.
Mhm.
Because they don't synchronize the lights. And it's simple as that. I mean, it's not rocket science, people.
Mhm.
You gotta synchronize your lights. They won't do that.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to talk
I mean,
about the
I-
signalization on River Road right now. Yeah,
But I think you only need one.
Sure.
That short of, I mean, that's not even a quarter mile.
oh yeah, this is a very short, this is a very compressed
And
segment.
It's gonna
These,
slow people down. It's gonna
Yep.
slow them down, yes.
Yeah.
But it's gonna make them
Sure.
log traffic down too.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. If just to shed some light on the reason these two specific intersections ended up in the design at this interval, and keep in mind this is a draft design, is these are the two intersections where we had the most prominent severe crash history, the fatalities and the severe injuries. So that's why these two are represented in the design.
Schwab right there, you're not even putting him involved.
I do want to flag for folks that we've switched over to looking at option 2. So I am interested in answering questions, but I also want to talk about the second design option as well and make sure you all have the opportunity to take a look. This is the scenario. The key differences that we talked about, instead of having that wide shared use paths that bikes would ride on, we are showing a buffered bike lane. So you have a bike lane with a painted buffer helping separate bikes from cars. And aside from the buffered bike lane, another the difference is, sorry, these PDFs. Another difference is this center intersection access management that we talked about, where a difference is we have this left turn pocket moving up into this. So it's not just right in, right out. It's a little bit more inclusive of access management for that north shopping center. So that's a difference associated with option 2 as well. I just wanted to walk folks through that so everybody gets eyes on both of the designs.
If you get gas at the Fred Meyers and are leaving out that exit,
Mhm.
will you be able to turn left with either? It's
So-
like all the way on the right there.
So if you're coming out of the
Now,
gas,
you exit the gas by going to the right,
out this way,
Yes.
and you turn left out of there.
this driveway, yeah.
So there won't be a raised median there.
That's not currently a component of the design. No.
So they won't need to
So
do
we
it.
have our gas water.
I have a question.
Sure.
The way I'm reading this schematic, you have a single lane both ways. Right?
That's correct. These are single lane roundabouts.
Yeah, the single lane roundabout you have over on Green Hill Road, I love that roundabout.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and as long as it's single lane,
Mhm.
then I don't feel intimidated. And I've watched Mythbuster YouTube thing, shows that with roundabouts, you move traffic almost twice as fast with stuff.
Yeah, they do have efficiency benefits. Yeah. Go ahead.
Are there any signalized things for pedestrians? We've talked about cars and bikes, but we don't really have
Sure.
improvements for pedestrians.
So yeah, what is out there right now, as I mentioned earlier, is that pedestrian beacon where you push the button and the yellow lights flash.
Uh-huh.
My hope would be that we reinstall that after construction. As for whether there would be more flashing pedestrian beacons, the answer I can give you right now is I'm not entirely sure if the existing project budget can support that. We can certainly talk about that with the community and look for supplemental funding, and kind of keep that on our radar as a potential preference, if that's something folks communicate to us.
So how do pedestrians actually cross at a roundabout? Because if it meters traffic to like a more regular flow, there's gonna be even less opportunity to cross,
Mhm.
it seems.
So the existing RFB at Lone Oak is very well utilized. So I think,
But I'm talking about like at the other one.
Yeah.
Right?
so like any of these other cross points, yeah. Like I said, right now, what we have in like the costing information associated with the project is we are making the assumption that these are raised. And so that raised crossing is something that's going to help support yield compliance, because cars are they'll have this kind of habit of slowing as they traverse the crosswalk. It's kind of like a speed hump or a speed cushion, but in crosswalk form. So that's something that should help. As far as whether there's going to be signalization there, like I said, it's not something that we have represented in the design right now. But one of the points of us doing this community engagement process is kind of to gauge people's opinions on things like that and talk to the community about, is there enough crossing demand at all of these crossing points to kind of try securing that supplemental funding to support that? Or is really the primary crossing point that people are using and happy with that existing pedestrian beacon location?
He said it's just a single.
A single lane roundabout, yeah.
You talked to Delta San Antonio about this? Yeah. Or Morse Brothers?
They are aware. At one point in time, they were made aware, yeah. But like I said, we're doing community engagement this summer, and the whole point of us having our public meetings that are coming up and doing this engagement push is to have people come and weigh in. This is about what we would consider at the 5% design interval. So you can think of construction drawings as being like from 0% to 100% and 100% being complete. This level of detail is considered around 5%.
Where is the merging of the two lanes on Division prior to entering a single lane now?
There's no two lanes.
Yeah, so River Road,
From east to west?
this cross section carries through to River Road. And as far as where that happens off screen this way, that's a design component to be drawn.
Oh, so you're saying it's single lane for your the whole length of your design?
Yes, these are single lane roundabouts, yeah.
Like River Road single lane too then.
Yeah, it was.
We talked about that.
Well, keep in mind,
From 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
well, one of those existing lanes is right turn lane leading into Fred Meyer the whole way for the entire stretch. But keep in mind, we did the traffic flow analysis with the 2045 peak travel hour projections. So, even now, and even accommodating for growth 20 years in the future, during that rush hour traffic period, we ran the modeling and showed that it can accommodate more efficient throughput than the existing conditions.
So if you turned 40,000 houses out here, you got 80,000 people with cars.
Mhm.
And you didn't do anything for River Road, but why you're basically at one lane road on River Road anymore because of all the traffic. It's not working. People are.
Well, you're still gonna go from 2 lanes one way to 1 lane one way.
Mhm. Yes, that is what the design
I
shows.
remember years ago when before River Road was widened, people talked about, they didn't want to lose the rural feeling. They wanted to keep River Road 1 lane each way. Can you imagine what that would be like now? Same scenario.
I know, but but River Road is a different facility from Division with different travel volumes.
Same amount of people.
I do disagree with that. That I do.
People are jumping in and there's hands going up. We need to take hands.
I have a question regarding the cost.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Sure, I have a question regarding cost increase. The water district is just from one project exactly next street over has increased 75% on the next bit going up. So I think you guys have to be aware of the costs.
Yeah, increasing costs of construction materials and labor is something that we're familiar with. With federal and state grant awards, there is contingency budget programmed in when we request the funds. So we have, I can't remember exactly what the percentage was for this specific grant funding source, but there's a certain percentage of the project that's contingency, which is kind of like a cushion for us to account for things like inflation increases in labor and materials, things of that nature. So that does help.
We have 3 more minutes for the Division Avenue project.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else who has a question?
Oh, sorry, I haven't been looking very closely.
So if you are in Division and you're heading towards River Road, during rush hour, it definitely, the left-hand lane, turn lane is definitely back up to the left Schwab entrance. I don't know if we increase by 2045, you're saying your studies don't get it near that backup, near that roundabout.
Mhm.
Like if it does, then that whole roundabout stops.
Mhm.
And it's going to back up traffic all the way to River Road.
To the best of my knowledge, the traffic analysis did show that, but I can double check with the consulting firm to make sure.
So we're discouraging traffic. Right off the freeway. That means more people will be getting off. So that also leads to that. Happens.
Well,
That's after also. People won't want to go that way.
yeah, and so the subject of additional interventions at those intersections, like the interchange with River Road and Beltline, that's a conversation we can have, and we can talk through that as we talk to community members about this project, as we work to move this from, like I said, the 5% interval onward. So that's a conversation we can have with folks if that is of concern. But in the moment, I don't have an immediate answer for you.
Maybe do some homework about how the traffic might be diverted to Hunsaker and to that other intersection before the open house on September 11th, and then because you'll get a lot of those questions.
Yeah. I just wanted to, because I'm hearing cost concerns, I'm hearing injury and fatality concerns, which speaks to, we have another intersection that I live near, we've had a lot of those, and so I really appreciate you coming and sharing what you guys are potentially planning even this early on in the phase. And I just wanted to ask, as you go forward, are you considering the potential for a new bridge over the river that feeds into that? And I know it's not set in stone, but is that something that is being considered, the city is considering as you choose these roundabouts? Because we had Patrick kind of let us know that this was probably coming 2 years ago. And just wondering if that's being calculated into, and I really do appreciate the due diligence on the accidents. I am a little concerned about the left Schwab area just because I think that, and maybe the data didn't show that there were serious accidents with that intersection. I know that I choose my exit very keenly when I'm there. So, so something needs to change, I think.
To answer your first question about the bridge, that concept was factored into the traffic flow analysis. So even to account for that increased volume, and that's an ODOT project, isn't it, Reed? Yeah. So that's something ODOT has planned for the long term. But like I said, we did the travel volume projections with that, and it still works. As far as Les Schwab intersection goes, I appreciate you bringing that on our radar. That's not one that popped up prominently in the crash data, but that doesn't mean we couldn't consider something. And like I said, this is a design in process, and comments from community members can help us rework things and make adjustments as we advance through.
So there's people that go from Craig to Albertsons. It's like you take your life in your hands, find out it bring it in. It's like a big chicken.
Yeah. Sounds difficult. Yeah.
I seem to remember reading about, and correct me if I'm wrong, the part of the Hunsaker plan, it involved putting speed humps on Hunsaker. Is that correct still?
That is still in the design for the project, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
Hey, we've come to our time limit for this
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Section.
you.
Thanks, Logan. We appreciate you. We'll move on to Reed Dunbar.
You keep this up for a second. My name is Rick Dunbar and I work with Logan as a transportation planner in City of Eugene Public Works. This is a spot improvement. And so a lot of what we've been talking about are systemic improvements that include beltline. And that is a separate process, mostly because the owner of beltline is the Oregon Department of Transportation. And we've been having a lot of conversations with them about what sorts of strategies we should be looking at to make sure that the River Road and Beltline corridor works a little bit better, and we'll continue to do that. But the reality is that's mostly their purview. And so we sort of need them to take the lead because we don't have money to rebuild an interchange, and quite frankly, that's not our stuff. So we wouldn't be doing that anyway. So we're having those macro conversations, including the bridge. So that's all part of the system analysis. And this is more of a spot improvement because we've got crashes happening here and here and here. And so I wish we could do the whole system at once and just sort of pick it up and say, let's just build something else. But we can't. So we got to do it piece by piece. And right now we've secured funding to do this little portion. And so that's where we're going to start. And I think we're totally aware of what the other issues are. And it's going to have to be a different project when we get to that.